40 years have passed since Brighton resident Cathy Krauseneck was found murdered in her own home.
This is the axe that was found in Cathy's head.
Her 3.5-year-old daughter was there throughout the day with her mom dead in the bed.
They felt that there just wasn't enough evidence to charge him at that point.
They went through the years thinking, we're going to get something.
It just went cold.
James Krauseneck will stand trial later this year for the murder of his wife in their Brighton home nearly 40 years ago.
You're saying that this man, who had never shown any sign of violence before and never shows any violence after, snaps one night in his life and puts an axe in his wife's head?
Yep. Yeah.
There's no way Jim would ever have done anything like that.
James Krauseneck just doesn't look like an axe murderer.
No, but Ted Bundy didn't look like a serial killer.
I did not murder Cathy.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Oh my god, today I have been running from the natural light. The lighting in this room is absolute dog shit and my microphone stand is broken. So yeah, and my microphone is like not that great. But anyway, welcome to my channel. Everything is falling apart, but that's okay. I'm still here and I'm here to talk about a true crime story. Please do show your support by liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and hitting the notification bell so that you never miss out on any of my future videos or podcasts. I promise I will upgrade my equipment, but I just can't afford it right now. So I'm a single mum. It is what it is. But I do my best. And remember that I have teamed up with a brand called Broken Society. They have got some really awesome clothing. And yeah, their clothes are freaking awesome. A little bit spooky, but completely adorable. They even have stuff for kids, which I think is amazing because, you know, little kids in those spooky little clothes, so cute. And the time of the year, you know, Halloween. Dress your kids up and whatnot. Anyway, to top it off, I have scored you guys a 10% discount for when you use my promo code KateSharon_truecrime. You can head over to their website. It is at www.broken-society.com. Thank you so much for being here. Please do stick around. I will get better equipment one day, just not today. All right. Yeah, we're going to dive into another true crime story. Go grab a snack. Come back and let's do this. All right, so today I am going to be talking about a really tragic sad story. It's a case that went cold back in the 80s and it was finally resolved in 2022. So yeah, that's quite a while, eh? That's quite a while. So in the winter of 1982 in Rochester, New York, Jim Krauseneck came home from work and he found his wife Kathleen deceased in their bed. Cathy had an axe lodged in her head. How freaking brutal is that? It was a shocking discovery that left him and the whole community in shock. And for over 30 years, nobody was ever charged in connection to her death. Like, I wasn't even born until 1987, so it has been cold for so long, like my whole life. Basically, this case, it was at a standstill. So fast forward to 2015, when the Brighton Police Department decided to take another look at this cold case. They teamed up with the FBI to analyze the evidence again. And this time, they were focusing on Jim. The husband. It's always the husband, right? Or the boyfriend. Or ex. What's that all about? Anyway, Jim had now become the main suspect in his wife's death. And this renewed attention brought the case back into the spotlight and started a new push for justice for Kathleen. So let's go back to the beginning because, you know, it's easier to just go back and then work our way forward. So Jim and Cathy, they both grew up in the quaint community of Mount Clemens, which is in Michigan. It's a town known for its close-knit atmosphere. especially back then. I think times are different now. Communities aren't as close these days, you know? I've noticed that. Anyway, Jim came from a family that operated a local carpet store, which played a significant role in the town's economy and provided him with a strong work ethic from quite a young age. Cathy's upbringing was a little bit different. Her dad was a truck driver and he was often on the road, which sort of instilled like a sense of independence and adventure in Cathy. So she was, you know, always off doing her own thing, basically. Their paths did cross in high school, where they quickly connected over shared interests and experiences. And as their friendship blossomed into a romance, they decided to further their education together. And they both went to Western Michigan University. So during their time there, they not only focused on their studies, but they also nurtured their relationship, basically laying the foundation for their future together. They seemed, you know, really in sync, and they clearly loved each other. Then on May the 3rd, 1974, Jim and Cathy tied the knot. They got married. Shortly after their wedding, they relocated to Fort Collins in Colorado, where Jim pursued graduate studies at Colorado State University, while Cathy worked as an orthopedic therapist. Then in April of 1978, they welcomed their daughter. This was Sara, and the family moved to Lynchburg, Virginia, where Jim taught economics at Lynchburg College from 1979 to 1981. Then in September of 1981, Jim accepted a new job, prompting the family, now including their 3-year-old, to move to Brighton, a suburb of Rochester, New York. So yeah, they all pack up, they leave, and they move to their new home. There, Jim began to work as an economist for Kodak. I'm pretty sure that's the camera company, right? I think so. Anyway, Jim was facing some difficulties though, because Kodak found out that he didn't actually finish his PhD that he said he got from Colorado State University. You know, he kind of needed that for this job. And yeah, he was in a little bit of trouble for that. Yeah. Then, on the morning of February the 19th, 1982, Jim said that he went off to work. And shortly after he left, their 3-year-old daughter, Sara, woke up. And this is the really, really sad part. So Sara went into her parents' room, you know, wake her mum, maybe she wanted some breakfast or cuddle, whatever, that's what they do when they're 3. So she goes in and she found her mum. Her mum was laying in bed and she had an axe embedded in her head. How does a 3-year-old process this? That would be absolutely horrific. Like, can their minds actually process this sort of thing? I don't think so. Little Sara then got herself dressed. She put on multiple sweaters because it was cold, and she waited for her dad to come home. Little Sara waited all day in that house while her mum lay in her bed, deceased, with an axe in her head. This poor little girl. It was hours later when Jim finally came home and found his wife. My heart really goes out to their little girl, honestly. That is so freaking sad. She's just pottering around the house while her mum is deceased. I have a 3-year-old, and I'm pretty sure that he would know something was very, very wrong if he found me in that sort of a way. You know, at 3, they know quite a bit. And to think that that little girl was home all by herself while her mum was in that way is just, it's uncomprehendable. Like, it's so sad. So anyway, Jim gets home from work and he finds that the garage door is open. And he noticed that there was broken glass on the floor near the front door. And there was a heavy tool nearby. Jim said that he then ran up the stairs to the master bedroom to see if his wife was up there. And she was. and this is when he found her with an axe embedded in her head. Luckily, Sara is okay. She's unharmed, and she was in the next bedroom. She was just playing with her toys. She was playing with her toys. This little girl, she's 3, she's just carrying on with her day. Jim then ran over to his neighbor's house with his daughter in his arms. The neighbor later told investigators that he knocked on their door, and he was holding on to his little girl, like, tightly, squeezing her, like, clearly shaken. She said that he looked terrified. The neighbor then called 911 in, like, a panicked sort of way. She had panic in her voice, and she told the 911 operator that she thinks there was a murder across the road. And even though the police were unable to uncover key forensic evidence, like fingerprints, they discovered indications that suggested that the crime scene may have been staged to appear as a burglary. So in the dining room, valuable items were basically strewn across the floor. This included Cathy's purse, which, had her personal belongings, credit cards, money, that sort of thing, just, kind of thrown across the floor. You would think that they would steal cards and money, but no. There was also a delicate tea set that had some sentimental value. Investigators observed that nothing appeared to have been stolen. So if this was a burglary, why wasn't anything stolen? Additionally, both an axe and a heavy hammer, known as a maul, were identified as items that belonged to the family. So the axe that was used to kill Cathy, it belonged to them. This led detectives to theorize that the supposed burglary was staged to divert attention from the more significant crime of Cathy's death. Because, if it's a burglary and, say if Cathy disturbs them, they'll be like, oh my God, and they, might hit her with the axe. But she was in bed, so they weren't disturbed, So the investigation began, and they zeroed in on Jim from, day dot. They really thought that he was responsible. Detectives also discovered a faint shoe print inside a trash bag near the silver tea set that was strewn across the floor. On that same day, the investigators also talked to little Sara, and she told them about seeing a bad man. At first, she said the man had a hammer in his head, and then she changed it to an axe. She also described his face as being many colours. That's when the detectives kind of realised that she was not talking about a man at all, and that she was talking about her mum. Many colours, like the blood on her mum's face and the colour that our skin turns when we pass away. So yeah, that's really, really sad. That's really sad. Horrible. This little girl, she wasn't able to process the situation because it's just so friggin' horrific. And also she's 3. My heart goes out to her, honestly. On February the 20th, 1982, Cathy's autopsy was performed, and Jim went to Michigan with his daughter. So he had spoken with investigators, and he said that he would agree to go in for, an interview, a talk. And yeah, he was supposed to do that, but he never did. He kind of just packed up his daughter and left. Yeah, that doesn't look good. You're not supposed to run. I know you probably, want to be around your family in that moment, but they can travel to you. You need to be there for the investigation. This is your wife. Just saying. So meanwhile, the medical examiner concluded that Cathy's cause of death was from the axe. So, there's no strangulation and then the axe or anything like that. It was the axe. It was just the blow to the head. That's what killed her. So during the autopsy, the medical examiner reportedly found no evidence of SA and narrowed Cathy's time of death to somewhere between 4:30 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. And authorities, they couldn't prove that Jim had been home at that time. Yeah. I don't know what time people leave to go to work in America, but here it's usually 7:38. Anyway, for many years, the case against Jim remained unsolved. There was no strong proof linking him to the crime and no obvious reason why he would want to kill his wife. So as time went by, interest in the case started to fade away and it went cold. Then in 1997, while at a trade show, Jim bumped into an old friend, and this was a lady called Sharon James, and they kind of started dating. Yeah, so they dated for like 2 years, and then he popped the question, and they got married in 1999. He was actually briefly married twice before he married Sharon. So he got married like 3 more times after his wife died in quite a short space of time. Anyway, then in 2014, before dying from ALS, Edward Larrabee, a career criminal who had been locked up for attempted murder, robbery, and SA, wrote a confession. So he confessed that he's the one who killed Cathy. Yeah. Authorities said that his confession was riddled with errors that did not match up to the facts of this case. So Edward said that Cathy was brunette and a heavy lady, when in actual fact Cathy she had like blonde, like dirty blonde hair, and she was slim. So completely different. He said that he SA'd her and then he killed her, but investigators at the scene found no evidence of SA, and because of these inconsistencies, the prosecutors and authorities, they didn't take further action on this, because like he's basically describing another woman, not Cathy. Anyway, it just looked like someone trying to take credit for a horrific crime, which is pretty bloody messed up, right? Why would anyone admit to such a horrible crime if they did not do it? I don't know. Maybe if they're in jail forever and they, want to up their rap sheet. Possibly. Just sick people. Then in April of 2015, former Brighton Police Chief Mark Henderson started a detailed review of this case. Investigators spoke with possible witnesses and suspects. And by June of that same year, Chief Henderson and former Captain Cathy met with the FBI's Buffalo Cold Case Group to discuss this case. So I'm glad that, they finally started investigating it, because man, it's sad. They shared details and they answered questions to find new ways to investigate the case. They basically wanted, advice from the room. So after this meeting, they decided to give the entire case file to the FBI for digitization. This was to make it easier to access and analyze the information, hoping to improve the chances of solving this case with the FBI's advanced technology and resources. So, FBI, they're better at this sort of thing. Then in April of 2016, Chief Henderson reached out to Cathy's family and he basically offered them an update on what was going on with this case. They also decided that they needed to talk to Jim again. So they actually surprised him. They just, kind of showed up to his house in Gig Harbor, Washington, and during this not interrogation, but interview, detectives directly asked Jim if he killed his wife. They're just like, are you involved in your wife's death? And Jim was like, no, I did not kill Cathy. I loved my wife. But the detectives, they kind of felt otherwise. They believed that he did kill his wife. So a couple of years would go by. And in 2018, the Brighton Police Department and the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, they wanted a second opinion about the time of Cathy's death. So they thought like maybe they were wrong. Maybe Cathy died earlier. So this is when they asked Michael Baden, a pathologist and former chief medical examiner from New York, to look over the evidence. And he did. He took the evidence and he looked it over. And in October of 2019, I know these people take ages, eh? It's crazy. So yeah, in October of 2019, Dr. Baden, he reported that he had his findings. So after reviewing the Monroe County autopsy, toxicology reports, the scene, autopsy photographs, and police reports, he said that it appeared that Cathy had died at around 3:30 a.m., which would have been a time that Jim was home. So he would notice, right, if his wife is being killed. Of course. So Dr. Baden said that it looked like that Cathy had died at 3:30 a.m. when Jim was still home. And prosecutors believe that means Jim, was likely to be the killer. It looks really, really bad for Jim right now. Like, really bad. So on November the 1st, 2019, a grand jury indicted Jim, and just a week later, he showed up at the Hall of Justice in Rochester, New York, and he turned himself in. He was 67 years old by this stage, and he pleaded not guilty to all of the charges. What do you guys think? Do you think that he did it? I don't know. Then on September the 6th, 2022, the trial finally kicked off. It had been 40 years since Cathy was killed in a really horrific way, and the Monroe County DA, Sandra Dawley, believed that without a doubt Jim was guilty, and that he killed his wife. Meanwhile, Jim's lawyer, Bill Easton, he insisted that his client didn't do it, and he said that there's really no evidence pointing at Jim as the killer, except for, this doctor saying that she died at 3:30 a.m., but they could get it wrong, right? I don't know. You do hear about people getting it wrong. She could have died, at 7:30 or when Jim had left. I don't know. I kind of think Jim did it, but I honestly don't know. And also, if he did it, that means he did it while his little girl, his 3-year-old, was in the house. Like, that's just sick. And then to allow his 3-year-old to find her mum with an axe in her head, like, you would have to be a major monster to do that, right? So what do you guys think? Do you think Jim did it? Let me know. And then, if he did do it, that he was allowed to raise his daughter afterwards, which is also quite messed up. Oh, poor Sara. She never even got a chance to know her mum, Instead, she, had a bunch of stepmums because her dad kept getting married. Like, you don't need to get married that many times. Once is enough, isn't it? Or twice. I don't know. No judgment. All right, then prosecutors brought in an expert who said the footprint found on the trash bag came from a specific type of shoe called a boat shoe. And apparently Jim owned a pair of these boat shoes. A pair of these shoes appeared in the 1982 crime scene pictures, and Jim obviously owned these shoes because they're in his house. But at the time, his shoes weren't actually tested to see if they matched the footprint, so we don't know for sure. But, it's a shoe. Jim's lawyers claim that investigators have the wrong theory and the wrong person. Then on September the 26th, 2022, a jury found Jim guilty of killing his wife. And, right after the verdict, law enforcement officers went in and they took him into custody. Then on November the 7th, 2022, during sentencing, Jim's daughter, Sara, she read a heartfelt statement. So in her words, she shared her feelings about the outcome of the trial. So she said, I feel like my mother's killer has escaped true justice, and now my father's life has been ruined by a justice system that wrongly convicted him of a crime that he did not commit. It's horrible. Also, 71-year-old Jim addressed the court for the first time just before he was sentenced, and he read a message expressing his deep love for Cathy, and he insisted on his innocence. But the judge wasn't really, hearing it. The judge still, thought he was guilty. So Jim said, "I did not murder Cathy. I love Cathy with all my heart and soul." But despite his claims, the judge sentenced him to 25 years in prison. That's basically his whole life, because he's like in his 70s. So even though the jury found Jim guilty, his family and his supporters, including his daughter and his wife, they believed that he was innocent. They still believe he is innocent. They think he's been wrongly convicted. And in her statement at court, Sharon, his wife, she said that they're planning to appeal the verdict so that they can make sure real justice is served. I feel like the investigators, they didn't have like a hell of a lot of evidence, right? Then in May of 2023, Jim actually passed away. He had been in prison for 6 months and he died from cancer while incarcerated. I don't know if he had cancer before he went into prison or if he got it when he went into prison. I'm not sure, but that's horrible. So throughout this entire story, I have been on the fence about Jim's guilt. I don't know if he's guilty and I don't know if he's innocent. Usually I, say, oh yeah, he did it, or oh no, he didn't do it. But with this one, I don't know. Why would anyone want to kill Cathy though? Why would Jim want to kill Cathy? I don't know. And why would they leave the little girl alive? Who knows? My hope is that Cathy is at peace and that Sara is managing well after everything that has happened. This basically ruled her whole life. This tragedy has followed her from when she was 3, and now she's without both of her parents. It's an incredibly heartbreaking situation for her to be in. Okay, so we're going to leave it there. A shortish story today. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and please don't forget to hit the like button, turn on the notifications button, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more of my videos and my podcasts. And I apologize for my terrible audio and my terrible filming, but I can't help that my equipment isn't great. If I could buy amazing equipment right now, I would, but I'm a single mum. I can't. Yeah, so that's that. I will get there one day. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me. And remember, I have teamed up with Broken Society, and there is a 10% discount for you guys. Just head on over to www.broken-society.com, type in the promo code KateSharon_TrueCrime, and get your discount. Some pretty cute clothes, and Christmas is coming. Perfect gifts. Anyway, that's me. I am out. I hope we are all well, and I really hope that for Christmas, Santa brings me a brand new microphone, an amazing camera, and a room that I don't have to struggle with lighting. Is Santa capable of that? I don't know. In other words, Mum, Dad, can you guys please get me a new microphone? Because look. And I need a new camera. Thanks, Mum and Dad. I'm going to have to send this to my Mum and Dad now. Dear Mum and Dad, I would really, really like a new camera and a new microphone and better lighting so that I can make better videos and people want to subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Love, Kate. All right, I'm out. Bye.